All-Stars, I should have 3 by my name. They say I cried about not making it. It's free to complain. It's deeper than fame, it's principle. My feelings hurt minimal. Second team additional. 20 M's, boy, it's fixable. Boy, it's fixable. They robbed me though, and it was criminal. But hey, to the game I was chalking it. Trying to bring a ship to Portland just like Walton did.
Welcome back to another edition of the Second String Sports Show, Portland Trailblazers edition. We got only the host of Second String Sports in the studio today, the true and dedicated Trailblazers fans. I'm Jake.
And I'm Grant.
Probably the best host of the show, you know. Sorry, Logan and Jeff.
Definitely.
Logan and Jeff are on a little hiatus, but that's just because we're here to talk about the best basketball team in the NBA, the Portland Trailblazers.
Our true love.
Pretty much for the next 9 months, the podcast is going to be pretty much consisting of the NBA and Portland Trailblazers talk. Sorry, Jeff and Logan, but that's just the way it is. This is Portland, baby, so so screw it.
Probably most of you are going to find this podcast from our Blazer Twitters, so let's give a quick shout out to that.
Yep, if you are here listening from that, I am at Mr. Portland, Mr._Portland on Twitter.
And I'm at Rip City Diehards, all one word. You can find us there. That's probably where you're going to hear this mostly. But
yep, Twitter, Instagram. We cover everything Blazers, and pretty much now that the season is starting, I will be active on the daily with Trailblazers content, discussing the games. I don't miss a single game if I can help it, you know. If I can't go in person, might as well watch every game glued to the couch because, you know, that's just what I do. I'm a washed college grad now, so what else do I have to do with my life?
Yeah, I've been a little bit inactive from the account. Just been really busy, but it's been the off season. Don't worry, not missing a game. We'll have content back up for sure.
So you're officially announcing the return of your Twitter Blazer presence finally?
The return. I returned the Instagram presence the last
Grant
week.
was the OG. He's the one who actually got me into covering the Blazers on Twitter. So
true. We've had a lot of fun with it. Both built the account.
Shout out to Twitter. You know. What a solid little website we have going for us.
Yeah, except, you know, today we had the cyber attacks. If any of you...
Yeah.
It's the 21st, right? 21st?
Asshole Russians. Anyways.
Little
sidetrack, but, you know, what would a second string podcast be without us getting sidetracked on some random topic? Anyways, we are here to break down the 2016-2017 Portland Trailblazers season. We're going to talk about season predictions, player performance predictions, what we hope to get out of the season. I don't know, maybe some potential trades that could be discussed mid-season that we would like to see. When you guys listen to this, we will have already recorded it, but we are currently getting some tweets in live from our followers on our Blazer accounts with some questions that they want us to talk about. So why don't we just jump right into it? Season starts next week on Tuesday with the Utah Jazz. By the way, sidetrack, shout out to Damian Lillard, D.O.L.L.A, for dropping his debut album just in time before the season, getting that out there. It's currently the number 2 rap album in the country, so...
It's real good. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. He's very talented.
If you give us permission, Dame, we will use songs on our show, so...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't give us permission, you know? We're Blazer fans, love the whole Dame D.O.L.L.A.
We can just DM you since you follow us both, so that's what's up.
Exactly.
Subtle yet not so subtle plug. Anyways, let's get into it. Portland Trailblazers 2016-2017 season. Before we start, let's get a little breakdown into last season. I'm pretty sure back when we were a sports radio show in college, me and Grant were pretty much the only ones who somewhat predicted, I don't know, what did we predict? 30, we were pretty much pessimistic, 30, 40.
I think what
20,
happened,
30 win season is what we pretty much predicted, right?
I'm pretty sure I was on record as saying the Blazers would be about 500. Do you remember this? And
I was a little bit I don't know if I agreed or I was less than that, but I do remember you did say 500 for last year, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, that was to say the least, last season was a surprise to most people. Yeah. And I mean, when I came out on a radio show and said, you know, Blazers, I think they go 500 over the season, you know, everyone kind of looked and was like, you know, I don't know. Like, you know, you're losing 4 starters. You lose LaMarcus Aldridge, obviously one of the best players in the league.
We had lost our center. We were coming in with, you know, a 75-80% entire new roster. So
Yeah, and
there was also like a disconnect from the fan base too. We had grown with this team for so long, and with Rip City, all of you guys out there who are Blazer fans know that pretty much it's a connection to the fan base with every single player, their personal lives, etc., their personalities. So it was probably the weirdest I felt going into a season personally.
Oh, it was definitely weird, and it was just unexpected the whole season. I was thinking 500 win percentage. That was a really, really good season. That was like best case. And then we finished above 500, went to the second round of the playoffs, which
fifth seed.
Went to the second round of the playoffs, and that's hard to do in the West and not something we had done in years. I mean, it was remarkable losing so many key players and then bringing in a bunch of young guys with chips on their shoulder who actually seem to live up to their potential.
And I mean, not to mention our second round elimination was against the Golden State Warriors, who earlier in the season we handed, at the time, it was their fourth loss of the season, I believe, and we beat them by like 32 points.
Yeah.
Absolutely demolished them. So,
and okay, even if you look at that series that we got eliminated against the Warriors, we put up a fight. I mean, it was a 4-1 series.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, there was
two games in there that could have easily swung both ways.
Yeah, and when you look at it, we were leading more time in the series than Golden State. I mean, that comes down to us being a young team, not knowing how to finish those type games, and that's something that comes with experience and something that Golden State series will definitely help us this year and moving forward with this young core that we kept together in the offseason.
Yep. So, moving past last season, we made a few different moves in the offseason that we can discuss. We re-signed a lot of players that I thought were going to leave. We re-signed Mo Harkless. We brought back Myers Leonard. We brought back Alan Crabb.
Yeah.
Who else? Is that's pretty much all the major re-signs.
Yeah.
And then we also brought in Evan Turner. So.
Yeah, Evan Turner. And, when you looked at free agency, all right, the first couple days of free agency where we
absolute whirlwind.
It was a whirlwind of emotions because you would hear these guys, you'd hear the Hassan Whitesides, the Dwight Howards,
And it swung to Pau Gasol, stuff like that.
Yeah, you can, argue if it would have been good or bad for us, all that. But you hear your name in with these free agents and then nothing happens and comes of it. And you're kind of just sitting there like, what's Neil doing? Like, can he not, Neil O'Shea, that is, can he not attract these free agents? Or, what's kind of happening? Like, what are we missing? Because it seems like a young team who's like on the come up, great fan base, great franchise to play for. We thought it was the whole small market thing, and that could very well
was, honestly, probably why Hassan didn't come here.
But when you look at it, we took our time. Neil was patient. I credit Neil, for not really panicking, and he got our nucleus signed, and that was key. Also, what we missed, obviously, Ezeli.
Festus Ezeli. I forgot to mention
who was another young guy who was on the Warriors. Obviously, didn't get much playing time because they have a record-breaking team. He's a good player. Obviously, there's no timetable for him coming back. He's slowly working back into the rotation of basketball activity. But he's going to help us too. I just think the moves that he made were solid, and really, what the big thing was keeping the whole chemistry together. I mean, because don't you think chemistry was one reason?
Chemistry is the entire glue and core of the Portland Trail Blazers team, and I think one of the biggest attests to O'Shea as a GM is how involved he keeps. Oh, we also forgot to mention the CJ McCollum re-signing, long-term, major $100+ million contract. But the way Neil O'Shea operates is he directly involves the players of the likes of CJ and Damian, because Damian basically, I don't know, I would say Damian is the LeBron-esque type, like assistant GM of the Trailblazers, because everything revolves around him. It's his city, honestly. So
well, yeah, and Damian has proven to be that type of guy who can say,
picks personalities, knows who he can mesh with, who he can play with.
He's not a diva. He's someone who comes in works hard, sets an
LaMarcus Bittridge. That didn't rhyme very well.
Sets an example for the younger guys.
Yeah.
He's a role model and someone that these younger guys can look up to, and we're lucky to have him. And you can see, I don't want to like rag too much on LaMarcus, but when you look at losing him and the other 3 starters besides Dame, I think it was one of the better things to happen to this franchise, because we kind of started anew with this young core who works hard, willing to work, and
it was a rebirth.
It was a rebirth.
We went through a tough-ish period.
They accept Damian as kind of the leader, and they respect him fully.
Undisputably.
See, I don't think we had that with LaMarcus when he was the
he was here. Like, I loved, for his time here, I appreciate what LaMarcus did for us, but 9 years, not past the first round. Once, but
yeah, I mean it was really unexpected, and it just kind of gave a perspective on how good of a leader Dame is
at such a young age, impacting the franchise in his rookie sophomore season. So
yeah, and just keeping this whole nucleus together with Dame and CJ, like you were just talking about, 5 more years at least. I mean, obviously barring trades, which I doubt ever happens. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's really good to have these guys who are friends and willing to get along, work together, work hard. If you heard any of the quotes at the Fan Fest, they're just as good of friends off the court as they look to be on the court. I mean, it's kind of night and day from the whole, our Damian and LaMarcus friends, who's the leader type thing. It's like they just want to work together and win, and that's what you need from a small market team. You need these young guys who buy into playing hard, playing together, because you're not going to attract the huge superstars like some of these other teams.
Before we move on, just as we were talking about chemistry, something we forgot to mention is this offseason we did lose Mike and Mike. Which is something we have not really mentioned on the show, because if you guys, or if anyone listening was a listener of the Second String Sports Show when we did it as a radio show at Oregon State, one of our second to last shows, we actually got the opportunity to interview Mike Barrett, which actually turned out to be his last interview ever done as a Portland Trail Blazers employee, which is pretty wild and pretty sad. But I mean, I was glad that he gave us the opportunity, and he opened up about some pretty amazing stories and memories with the organization, which at the time he didn't know would be, some of his reminiscing last moments about that. But I really hope they find something else great to move on towards. I know they will. But just moving on to the season, we got Kevin Calabro and Lamar Hurd.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough transition for these Blazer fans who, like me and Jake, have grown up listening to Mike and Mike our whole life. Yeah, I mean, ever since I can remember watching the Blazers, it was Mike and Mike.
Yep.
And I wish them the best. Mike Barrett is, just from talking to him, he's a stand-up, class act guy. Gave us some advice, was very willing to come and talk to us. Mike Rice, we obviously don't know as well, but he was really entertaining. We really enjoyed him as a broadcaster. We didn't know him as much on a
quotes for life
personal level, but you kind of felt like that through the TV.
I can make a wall of Mike Rice quotes.
Exactly. Mike Rice quotes will be missed, but like Jake said,
excited for the new era. We got new members of the team. We got new members of the TV broadcast team as well. One of which will actually be doing an interview with us next week. So look out for that episode with Lamar Hurd, just to, give a little plug now.
Little teaser. Yeah, we're trying to get the final details worked out, but should hopefully have that out next week. Yep. We're happy that, we got a former Beav in there. Former Beav basketball player.
We got something in common with him. Go Beavs. It'll be all 5 of us, all 5 Beaver alumni talking, so that'll be cool. So look out for that, talking mostly Blazer hoops, but also some OSU Beavs hoops.
Yeah, and they're really good announcers. We don't mean to say, Mike and Mike are out, and so
it's just an adjustment period for the fans.
It's just definitely an adjustment, and people get used to it. I'm happy to have these new guys in.
Yeah, same.
It's gonna be a fun year.
All right, well, enough of the prelude, whatever. Build up to it. Let's get right into it. 2016-2017 Portland Trail Blazers season. We start out with Utah. What do you think, Grant, with what you think the starting lineup should be. I know Terry has sort of mentioned some changes with Al-Farouq Aminu sort of moving to the 4 permanently.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think you kind of just touched on it. Al-Farouq Aminu probably going to stay at the 4. You kind of saw that's what he was doing a lot of last season, having success with it. You also saw by the end of the year he kind of started to develop his 3-point jumper, which was a big asset, kind of just draw the defenses out, create some more space to drive and kick and that sort of thing. So I think Al-Farouq Aminu probably pretty set in at the 4. At least to start the year and see how it goes from there. Obviously, the point guard, shooting guard, that's Damian and CJ. Clearly, those are the 2 locked-in positions, really. And then at the 3 and 5, I think at the 3, we're going to probably see Mo Harkless, which is what we've seen in preseason.
He's been looking good this preseason as well. Literally, as we speak right now, the Blazers are playing the Warriors, looking good so far, so... I don't know. What do you think Evan Turner plays his role this year?
Yeah,
I mean, we were talking earlier. I think probably off the bench is what we're going to see to start the season. But if it were up to you,
yeah, I think if I was Terry, I would bring Evan Turner off the bench for sure to start the season. Kind of get him acclimated to the system. He's someone who can create his own shot and needs the ball in his hands, and I just don't see that fitting as well with Damian and CJ, who also kind of need that offensive threat. I think that bringing him off the bench is more useful to our team. He's obviously really talented and probably more talented than Mo Harkless by quite a bit. But I think that having that kind of 6-man who can come in, score and just provide that energy off the bench is big. And then the 5, which we didn't talk about, I think that's going to stay with Mason Plumlee. That's what we saw last year. It worked, and he's someone who is a really good passer.
And he looks like he's developed immensely this offseason as well.
Yeah, someone who can create...
paint presence especially.
Yeah, he's good with, the whole kick-out type thing, which helps our guards.
Yeah.
So I think he just fits into our system really well. You saw that last year, him meshing in. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we'll have Ed Davis come in and play a lot. Azili when healthy. These are all really capable starters that are on our bench. We have a lot of depth this year, and he can really move it around and kind of see what works over the year. But I think to start, it's Dame, CJ.
It'd be
Mason, Mo Harkless, and Al-Farouq.
Yep.
I think that's what's worked, and that's what I think works best altogether.
A variable we didn't really touch on as well is Ed Davis said that he put on about 15 pounds of muscle in the offseason, because that was one of the things we did notice last year is he's so aggressive, but he's honestly pretty small compared to some of the other 4s and 5s in the league. Mm-hmm. He had those tendencies, you remember the games when we would go up against the Rockets and he would just get absolutely bullied by Dwight. He couldn't do anything about it. So I'm excited to see, what the work he put in the offseason, see that put to work. But as you were just saying, Myers and Festus are pretty much on the same timetable. I believe they'll be back about a week into the season, if not for the start of the season. So, yeah, what you just said as the starting lineup is what I'm going with as well. I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different ways, really, as the season develops that this could go. Obviously, we hope that there's nothing but injuries and all that is just, it's part of the game. And we have a lot of guys who can come in and step into the same role as someone else, about equal talent and just, people who can come in and perform. So I think that's going to be big is our depth, and that's something that helps us, especially going forward.
Let's move into some of these tweets we got in from the Blazer fans on some things they wanted us to discuss. The first one we got in is from Kevin, and he said, what kind of leadership role will CJ play this season?
Yeah, I think a big one. I think, coming in last year as the most improved player, someone who is a role model for developing their game, someone who comes in and works hard. He's class act role. Him and Dame are both great leaders, and they get along
complete
together.
Ambassadors for the city too.
Yeah, so I think kind of what we touched on earlier is, Dame and CJ's ability to, kind of mesh together. I think they're going to have a very similar type leadership role. They're both just as respected. Dame respects CJ just as much as anyone. I mean, they're together, they're bought into this whole thing, and I think that they're going to take on kind of the same persona with the team.
And I mean, we saw one of the quotes that CJ had this past week when sort of asked about how he's going to step into this role of having the expectations of being a max contract player, and he had a pretty awesome quote. I don't know it exactly, but it was something like, I've played every role in basketball before. I've played the bench. I've played bench warmer. I've played sixth man. I played second fiddle, and now nothing's changed. This is just the next chapter. I'm willing to step into this, all new form of leadership and sort of just assume exactly where he started off last year, which was pretty damn incredible. Honestly, could be an all-star year for CJ, so putting that out there now.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, who knows? I think just in summary, I think it's going to be kind of Dame and CJ working together kind of on that same respect level. I mean, they're both great players and they both respect each other. So that's big to have like a couple leaders who get it and are willing to work together for a common goal.
Calling it now, if Damian is not a 2016-17 All-Star this year, me and Grant will do something.
Yeah, I don't even want to
I don't want to put that bad mojo in the air, so I'm just suck that shit right back in. But yeah, I'm calling it now. Damian Lillard All-Star because, what other All-Star do you know that has a Lil Wayne verse? So
True. I mean, that would be just mind-blowing if he's not an All-Star.
Snubbed again, but I mean more would, so who knows what'll happen this year if he's snubbed. Let's move into one of these other tweets we have from Aaron. He goes, does D.O.L.L.A trade some assets before the season is over? Mid-season? If so, who? Very good question. That was one of the biggest things that went into the, mid-season. I know we both thought that there was going to be some huge moves that went down at the trade deadline last year, but nothing. Literally nothing happened.
Yeah, see, this is one that's very hard to predict.
That's going to be 4 or 5 months from now, and we have no idea how this new team, chemistry-wise, is going to mesh. So if all goes well and it's, what we saw last year with, complete team bonding all around, and who knows, we're in the 4 seed in the West. I don't see us making any moves. But if we're in a struggle position, the way Olshey operates, I could see, a Myers Leonard, someone, maybe even a Mo Harkless type being moved at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to tell at this stage without playing a game. I think that the chemistry-wise, we're going to be fine, but the whole thing with the offseason we had is we have a lot of assets with a lot of money, and there's a lot of depth, which is good to have, but at the same time, if you can package some of these players who are not seeing as much time but are still valuable to other teams because they could be starters on another team, that's something that Neil O'Shea could look at, packaging a couple guys, like a Myers Leonard or a Mo Harkless and a couple others, and, just see if they can get someone who could come in and be a big role instead of just a small piece. It's just something to think about. It's really, without playing an actual game this season, it's hard to tell. I agree. They're not going to make moves just to make moves, kind of something Mike Barrett said on one of our interviews going out.
We're not just going to make moves to make moves. That's not the way Olshey operates. There is some NBA GMs that do that just to sell tickets and to create, a stir, hence what the Brooklyn Nets have done in the past. Hell, I mean, even the 76ers have sort of fallen down that path with some of their moves. But
that's something that Neil O'Shea has kind of figured out and avoided because he's realized that chemistry can get you a long way, especially in a small market like Portland.
Exactly.
And it's too hard to tell right now. He's not going to do it just to do it, but that we have the pieces to make a move, exactly. So it wouldn't surprise me.
And sort of going off of that question, we have another tweet in from Ryan that says, how do you like our depth? What big offseason moves would you have liked to see the Blazers have made? And also, how did the Golden State Warriors blow a 3-1 lead? So just to answer the latter question first. Sorry. This podcast will have an explicit warning, even though, we might have that for every podcast, but that's my response to how the Golden State Warriors blew a 3-1 lead in the playoffs.
The Mr. Portland. The Mr.
Portland exclusive.
Exclusive right there. Yeah, I guess that's all that needs to be answered on that one. Going back to the actual question, how is our depth? That's something we've kind of touched on. We have tons of depth. We have players who can come in, fulfill the same role, the same need, and come in and do just as good of a job. You know, it's something like, you know, if Plumlee goes down, Ed Davis is very capable of coming in, starting, getting rebounds, doing everything that Mason does. Obviously, they have a little bit of different strengths, but they also have different weaknesses too. So it's something where we have a lot of depth, a lot of different rotations we could play, and something that Terry's going to have to figure out the best way.
And going off of the other part of his question, what big offseason moves would you have liked to see the Blazers to make? I think I speak for all of Rip City when we said that, man, did I want Hassan. Yeah. Man, did I want Whiteside. But
yeah, I mean, Hassan was someone who fit into our young kind of chip on the shoulder.
Sort of narrowed it down. It sort of looked like it made complete sense for him, but you know, he stayed loyal to the team that gave him his chance, and now he's going to go waste in the swamp wetlands of Florida. So have fun.
Yeah. So
the Heat are absolute trash. So, and Pat Riley's a demon for pretty much killing Chris Bosh's career. So,
but hey, who knows? Could be a Roy Hibbert type. We could look back on this in a couple of years. I'm not saying Hassan Whiteside is Roy Hibbert, I don't
think that'll happen.
But we also didn't think Roy Hibbert was as bad as he is, and we almost gave him a max contract.
True.
So who knows? I mean, I'm not saying Hassan is Roy Hibbert. I would have loved to have had Hassan. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I like the guys that we have. Like the guys that we have, we kind of were able to re-sign some other key guys because of that, because we didn't spend a whole bunch of money there. And I like where we're at going forward. I like kind of just the simple moves that he made, and I like Azili a lot. That was a great deal. $16 million for 2 years.
It sort of came off the question of the knee, and we sort of did see that come into play when he had to get the surgery in the offseason.
Yeah, but with the new salary cap.
With the new salary cap, we basically got him for a couple bucks.
Yeah. It was like nothing.
Olshey worked his mat. Even professional analysts were saying we got away with highway robbery on that one. So, I think we made some subtle, not so sexy, but pretty great moves, depth wise and team chemistry wise. So, man, am I excited for the season. That's pretty much all I can say.
Yeah. Are there any more questions from Twitter people?
Those were all the main questions. Ones. We did get another question that said, when's the D.O.L.L.A. J. Cole collaboration going to go down?
Would love to hear that.
Please make it happen.
That's like Cole, my favorite artist times Dame.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but, if anyone hasn't listened, go check out the Letter O album. Pretty incredible what he's doing on and off the court. Just to represent our city as a whole. So shout out Dame.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up a little bit.
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
Let's. I want to hear a prediction. So Vegas odds, I think, is what it's listed at. Not positive on this, so don't quote
46?
me. I think it's 46.5 over under wins. All right.
I'm going
over or under.
I'm easily 100% with confidence going over. We had 44 wins last year. I believe we were 44. We finished 5th in the West. In my personal opinion, I think depth-wise, we got stronger. I mean, we did lose. We lost Gerald. We haven't really talked about that, but that shouldn't be too big of a hit with the pieces we've added. Really excited to see what Evan does. Festus on the bench. I'm gonna go over, and man, if I have to go out on a limb, I say we're finishing 3rd in the West. I'm putting it out there.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going. Honestly, look at how the West falls this year. I think the Clippers are complete and utter trash. I think there's an inevitable injury for them that's going to be coming this year, as there is literally every year. I mean, look at our playoff matchup. I think it's going to be Warriors, Spurs, Blazers, honestly. Thunder in 4. Thunder 4 seed.
Wow.
I'm calling it now.
Maybe. All right. Well,
very, very fresh out the oven, like Papa Murphy's pizza on
off the top.
550 degrees off the top.
These are gut predictions.
That's a gut prediction. I will guarantee you, I don't think we're finishing any lower than 5. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we get up past 5 for sure.
All right. So over under 46.7 or whatever it was.
46.5.
Yeah. Okay, 0.2 decimals. Okay.
I think I'm gonna go over. I'm thinking we probably get high 40s wins. I'm thinking 48, 49 is what I'm thinking. I think that the Vegas prediction is a pretty good one, especially after, I mean, they pretty much gave us 20 more wins from last year's Vegas prediction. So, they showed us a little bit more respect. I'm going over for sure. I think we get 48, 49 wins, and I think we're the 3 or 4 seed. I'm kind of right there with you.
You're touching on the same base as me. I love it. So before we wrap up, let's each give sort of our player to watch this season that's going to have a breakout year, if you had to pick one. Besides, I mean, obviously we could say Damian Lillard because his shooting motion looks absolutely immaculate.
Yeah, Damian looks really good. I think he's taking the step forward.
He's taking the step forward. It's going to be freakish. CJ's obviously, I think CJ's going to perform at the same level, if not to an elevated all-star performance. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to go Allen Crabbe.
Allen Crabbe. Yeah, that's a good pick. He's someone who got a big contract, a lot of confidence.
His three-point percentage towards the end of the year was what? I'm pretty sure it was top 5 in the NBA, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it was up there. I don't know the
coming
exact
off
stat.
the 80 something million dollar contract. He got his max deal. He's been working his ass off. Really proud of him. Really excited for his new opportunity with us, and I think he's going to take advantage of it. From what I've seen in the preseason, his shooting looks just as good as ever. He looks like he's sort of improved his ball handling skills a little bit, and I've always been an Allen Crabbe fan, so I'm going to go Crabbe.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I'm going to go Mo Harkless. I think
also I would go tied for Mo Harkless.
We saw some glimpses of it last year, where he was coming in and putting up big numbers. A guy who was looking for a system to feel comfortable in, and you kind of saw towards the end of the season where he got a chance to play a little bit more. He was looking good. Now that he's got that big contract, he's here for 4 years. Knows he has a place and a role. And there's going to be a lot of attention that's focused on Dame and CJ, and I think he's going to get those open threes. I think he's going to start knocking those down, and I think he has kind of that breakout year, and that signing that we had, looks like a steal.
Yep, that pretty much sums it up for us. We gave our breakdowns of the offseason moves, what we think is going to go down with the Blazers 2016-17 season. Any last words?
Go Blazers. That's all I have to say. We're stoked.
You'll be hearing a lot more from us throughout the season on the Blazers.
We should start doing some more just like us two Blazer podcasts.
I'm down because
we need feedback though from our listeners.
Yeah.
We got to be tweeted at.
This will be a podcast that's most likely pretty much solely going to be promoted from our Blazers Twitters. So from all you guys that tweeted in questions, thank you. So if you like this, I mean, man, we might turn this into a weekly Blazers edition because if you are listeners of our podcast, Logan and Jeff, Spurs and Laker fans over there, pretty much don't appreciate our talk and our love for the Blazers for good reasons. Obviously, they're not Blazer fans, but we love to talk Blazers without interruptions from peasant other teams. So,
and if you've gotten to this point in the podcast, thank you, because that's we're at 32, 33 minutes right now, so thank you. We're going to try to keep it up, and let us know feedback. Let's give a quick shout-out to our personal Twitters. We have already shouted out our Blazer Twitters at the beginning.
So personal Twitters, I'm at the Jake McGrady.
And I'm at Grano Campo. It's listed in my bio, and I think yours is also listed in your Blazer bio.
I'm not good enough to have the at Jake McGrady like you do. I have to throw the just to sort of establish myself a little bit.
Yeah, basic name.
Yeah. More Blazer podcasts to come. Hopefully, once the season gets underway. If you also like us in general and want to hear us talk about the NBA, trades that go down, season breakdowns, we do a regular weekly podcast as well. Second String Sports. It'll be put out through the same thing. So keep up with us on that. And also, if you've gotten to this point, we've mentioned it before, but sometime next week we should have an interview coming out with Lamar Hurd, the color analyst of the Portland Trail Blazers. So pretty excited for that. We'll be tweeting out to, sort of gather your guys' questions that you would like asked to Lamar. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us. This is our first Blazer one, so it's kind of a trial run, just talk about whatever we wanted type thing. And
we are literally about to go do our fantasy basketball draft in about 30 minutes here, so shout out the Blazers. Hopefully a few of them land on my team. Just saying.
So thank you again, and follow us. Keep
Second
up.
String Sports. You can follow our show's page at Second String Sports on Twitter. That's sports with a Z. Hashtag SecondSS if you want to tweet in questions or give us feedback on our show.
Yeah, please, please, please. We need feedback because that's the only reason or the only way we're gonna know how people are liking it. So tweet us, whether it's good, bad, doesn't matter. Let us know.
Exactly. Second String Sports. Thank you for listening. Go Blazers. Interviews coming soon. I'm Jake.
I'm Grant.
Peace.